A handful of months ago, the MGTOW community had a debate on whether or not married men could be considered MGTOW. It didn't take long for the great majority, and all the most prominent MGTOW community speakers, to conclude that married men shouldn't self-describe as MGTOW, and that the MGTOW community in general just isn't going to recognize married men as MGTOW. We will not view them as enemies, or bad, but we're just not going to call them MGTOW. But a small sect, whose biggest speaker is Elam, has taken the position that married men can be MGTOW. Marriage can be a part of the MGTOW philosophy and movement, and those who disagree are ideologues. He's even stated that those who disagree with him on this are social justice warriors who are trying to dictate to others what MGTOW is. Apparently the irony is lost on him, that he is claiming either the MGTOW community must accept married men, and accept marriage as being a perfectly applicable thing within the MGTOW philosophy, or you're a social justice warrior ideologue who is tone policing the movement yada yada yada. He has even called those who object, pigtoe. If no one can spot the irony, I can't help you. But what I would like to focus on is Elam constantly saying that those who disagree with him on this issue are in the minority. They are just a small but vocal minority.
Is a community, not a big one. Again, this doesn't represent near all of MGTOW. This is like a very, very loud, boisterous, vocal fraction of the MGTOW population.
This little community is doing the exact same fucking thing all the little social justice warrior critic assholes do. I mean, they're not going to win. They're not going to destroy this MGTOW movement.
The small, little community of MGTOW that has scrutinized Janet's traditional division of labor advocacy, and disagree with AVFM's marriage-friendly MGTOW vision, will not destroy the majority MGTOW movement. This is stating that Elam's version. The AVFM view of MGTOW is the majority, the opposition is the minority.
That these guys, I mean, they call themselves MGTOW, and I can't argue with their right to do that. If they say they're MGTOW, they are, as far as I'm concerned. But
keep in mind he flip-flops on still considering the anti-marriage crowd to still be real MGTOW. I might display this in a future video, but the othering narrative alone separates the anti-marriage MGTOW from the pro-marriage MGTOW. He refers to the anti-marriage MGTOW as being like social justice warriors and feminists, so he is more or less saying there is real MGTOW, is pro-marriage MGTOW, and then there are crazy cultish social justice warriors calling themselves MGTOW. Paul, just drop the pretense and say what your boy Aaron Clary said, that we're fake MGTOW, misogynists abusing MGTOW, real versus fake. But back to the idea of us being a minority.
This particular band of idiots out there don't strike me as representative at all of MGTOW philosophy, not the MGTOW philosophy that I've read. It's stuff that these guys have begun writing in YouTube comments as they go along, as they react to each thing that offends them deeply. But this isn't about MGTOW to me. MGTOW to me is still a very important part of our cultural shift. I think it'll eventually have a positive impact in terms of restoring some balance between the sexes. But this particular band of ideologues, they basically just called themselves MGTOW. And what they are is social justice warriors, just like you said. They're feminists in terms of their behavior and actions.
Again, the language in this, the particular band, like some rare fringe element in the minority, when Paul or Janet talk about us anti-marriage MGTOW, they continue to use language that infers, when they're not outright saying, that we're the minority, they are the majority. So let's look at some numbers. Now in this first one where you talk about marriage being a perfectly acceptable choice for a MGTOW, and used the acronym MGTOW, to catch the attention of us MGTOW, rather than just capturing the attention of your own loyal audience regardless of their self-labeling, you get just a few more positive votes than negative votes. On this you could say you are in the majority, but really, not by much. The next video where you use the MGTOW acronym to get the MGTOW community's attention, and again push the pro-marriage MGTOW angle, this time you are in the minority. And when I say using the MGTOW acronym to get our attention, I'm not stating you are doing anything wrong, or doing that purposely, I'm just saying it's the effect it has. I just wanted to clear that up. The first time, you were voted down to about a 50-50 approval rate, but keep in mind, those who vote a thumbs up on all of these videos are your own loyal fans you've built up over the years regardless of their label. Also, the few self-identified MGTOW that does believe marriage and MGTOW can go together, and also traditionalists who have expressed their hatred of MGTOW, are giving you a thumbs up because you are siding with them that marriage is okay. But the reason you weren't downvoted so heavily on the first one is because many of us in the MGTOW community were still giving you the benefit of the doubt, and would rather not vote either way, and just try to explain why you are wrong, and why we have come to the conclusions we have come to. But here in the second video, you've already heard the arguments, and you haven't budged on this, and you're becoming inflammatory, and you went from misunderstanding MGTOW to misrepresenting MGTOW. Now the MGTOW community is losing patience with you, and giving you a thumbs down, and again, those upvotes you get, in spite of being in the great minority, still are made up mostly of your loyalists who don't even identify as MGTOW, and from traditionalists who hate MGTOW and are glad you're rubbing a pro-marriage message in our face. I can tell that, just from the usernames giving you positive comments. These are usernames that have often come onto my channel and many other prominent MGTOW to blast us with their traditionalist conservative philosophy. Now the third time you use the MGTOW acronym and get our attention, and continue spouting this bullshit, we're done, we're fed up, and we are telling you to stuff it and go to hell. The downvotes are more than double the upvotes, and that's even with your Tradcan supporters upvoting you to sock it to MGTOW, no matter how you slice it. Now the MGTOW community has downvoted you so heavily, they have doubled the amount of disapproval as you have approval. You, and your pro-marriage MGTOW philosophy, which I will just call MGTOW Plus, a spoof on Rocking Mysteries' attack on MGTOW, his attempt at rebranding the movement to be a traditionalist conservative pro-marriage pro-nuclear family values movement. You and your MGTOW Plus are in the minority, so you can feel free to knock off the narrative that there is this big huge MGTOW movement of men doing whatever they want, including getting married and going down the gynocentric path, and then there is this noisy little minority on the fringe who are anti-marriage, and so all of this nonsense about us being just as bad as the feminists, and the social justice warriors. You are not talking about some microscopic sect, you are name-calling the vast majority of this movement, and have thus become an enemy of the MGTOW movement. But by all means, Paul, keep calling feminists and social justice warriors and Tradcans all men going their own way, and you said it yourself, we're just like feminists and social justice warriors, not that you're saying we're not MGTOW or anything, so either you are in fact differentiating between real MGTOW and fake MGTOW, thereby committing the same sin you accuse us of, you hypocrite. Or you are saying that feminists and social justice warriors can be MGTOW, which is all the more reason to knock off this bullshit that MGTOW is a spiffy snazzy trendy new YOLO type acronym meaning men doing whatever they feel like doing. Either way, Paul, stop pretending you're the majority and we're the minority. Perhaps you just suck at math, and can't tell when your opposition has doubled your support, and that it is you who are in the minority. Or maybe you know this and you're hoping if you can just keep repeating the wishful thinking enough times it'll come true. And for all I know that is your strategy, and if that's the case, try clicking your heels together 3 times while saying there's no place like home, and let me know how that works out.